Bihari Srimad, His Divine Grace, A.C. Bhakti Swami, Srila Prabhupada Ki. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories, Shri Shri Guru and Gauranga. Glory to Srila Prabhupada.
Just a quickie, because not everybody is familiar with your association. Some of the devotees are new or whatever. Today we're graced with the privilege of Shruti Kirti Prabhu's presence. Shruti Kirti Prabhu was Prabhupada's personal servant for many, many years in the 70s. Traveled the world everywhere, was here when Radha Parisisvara were installed. You were not in New Mayapur for Krishna Bharam, or were you?
No, I wasn't.
That was Hari Sori.
Hari Sari.
Time, yeah. Hari Sori.
Hari Sari.
Hari Sori.
Yeah.
So, but it's very honored to have your presence here today. Just for everyone's information, because not everyone knows this either, this painting here on the wall is the original painting from the first temple in Paris. In Fontenay-aux-Roses. I don't know if you ever went there with Prabhupada. 1971, 72. Fontenay-aux-Roses. This painting was from that time. So it's the most historic painting in France.
Wow.
In that sense.
Jai. Hare Krishna.
Avalanche of garlands. They usually share their mercy with everything around them after a few minutes. These are pretty solid. In the new Mayapur, you'll see they 10,000 petals all over the floor in 5 seconds. Okay, there you go. You've got a choice of books. There's Bhagavad Gita, Srimad, Bhagavatam, Chaitanya, Nectar of Instruction, whatever you wish.
Jaya Jaya Sri Chaitanya Jaya Nityananda.
Jaya Jaya Shri Chaitanya Jaya Nityananda.
Jaya Dvaita Chandra Jaya Gaura Bhakta Vrinda.
Jaya Dvaita Chandra Jaya Gaura Bhakta Vrinda.
Jaya Jaya Sri Chaitanya Jaya Nityananda.
Jaya Jaya Shri Chaitanya Jaya Nityananda.
Jaya Dvaita Chandra Jaya Gaura Bhakta Vrinda.
Jaya Dvaita Chandra Jaya Gaura Bhakta Vrinda.
Jai Jai Sri Chaitanya Jaya Nityananda.
Jaya Jaya Shri Chaitanya Jaya Nityananda.
Jaya Dvaita Chandra Jaya Gaura Bhakta Vrinda.
Jaya Dvaita Chandra Jaya Gaura Bhakta Vrinda.
Hare Krishna. Nama Om Vishnupadaya Krishna Prasthaya Bhutale Srimad Bhagavatam Swami Niti Namane. Namaste Saraswati Devi Gauravani Vichayani Nirvisesha Shunyavadi Kapasashadi Shashani Panchakalpa Tarubhishya
Vipasubhya Vacha Patitanam Bhavanibhyo Vaishnavibhyo Namo Namaha.
Hare Krishna. So I have to, of course, first of all thank Maharaj for encouraging me over the last few years to come here to France, to New Mayapur, into the temple here. And even this trip, it was just a month or so ago that somehow a week of time opened up. We were going to stay in the USA where we were. We went to Atlanta for Panihati Festival. Been going there, I guess, the last 4 years in a row or so.
50th anniversary.
Prabhupada also installed Sri Sri Gurnatai there. It was 50 years ago. For me, much of the travels I'm doing is 50th anniversary, as I was with Prabhupada for 1975 up until July 1975. So this all started out back on the beginning of May. They asked me to go to Australia for 50th anniversary festival. Prabhupada being in Perth, Australia for 10 days. There was no temple there. And then after 10 days there, they had Prabhupada stay there because they were getting the Mayapur, Melbourne Mayapur Mandir, Melbourne Mahaprabhu Mandir ready. These deities there in Melbourne, they say Melbourne, these deities there in Melbourne were from the same casting as the deities in Atlanta, and I believe the same casting as the deities in Miami, and some say in Caracas, Venezuela. And in 1975, these were all places that Srila Prabhupada was going to. He went to, in the course of 2 months, Prabhupada went to about 15 different temples. He went around the world in 2 months. And I think just as giving me a little nudge, 2.5 months we're going to some 25 temples in 7 different countries. And when I was with him at that time, I was 23 years old, 24 years old. It was difficult then, at that time. Prabhupada didn't just travel for 2 months. he traveled for 15 times around the world in 10 years. So his sense of humor showing me what it's like, not easy. And what Prabhupada did was certainly on any normal material level was not something anyone would do, even attempt to do. And I see more and more wherever he went, and it's something I've realized in going to South Africa, Mauritius, in Russia some years ago, 10, 15 years ago. Wherever he put his lotus feet, there's a temple there. That's Srila Prabhupada. That's Srila Prabhupada's potency. Sometimes we see now in our travels is Prabhupada once told me that he established this branch, this ISKCON branch of the Brahma Gaudiya Sampradaya. Because I asked him how things would go on. And he said, I've established this branch of the Brahma Gaudiya Sampradaya, this ISKCON branch, and carry on in that way. And it's a very strong branch. Sometimes people like to minimize what Prabhupada has done. And in the course of traveling, we see what he's done. No one else did, no one else could do what Prabhupada did. So I see that in Perth. When he went there, it was just a place to rest, to rest. As soon as Prabhupada got there, he said, what's the program? He was staying in a little house. That house we saw last month. We saw that house in Perth. And in Australia, as many places in the last 50 years have expanded so much. Perth, Australia, beautiful area, very nice area, Perth. And all newer houses, 5, 10, 15 years old. And then there's this one house that sits there where Prabhupada stayed, still there. Practically looked like they didn't do anything to it in the last 50 years. Someone bought it in the early 1980s. And of course we were saying, my wife in particular, buy this house, buy this house. Anywhere where Prabhupada went, it's a tirtha. Imagine, we know Lord Chaitanya traveled around all these places. You'll see them on the maps in India. Lord Chaitanya, as he traveled all the different places, they're all tirthas, all holy places. You know, that day will come when we understand the significance. We understand it, I think, to some degree, but I don't think we have a proper understanding of just what Srila Prabhupada did and who Srila Prabhupada is. There's always one story I'd like to tell when I was with Prabhupada. Maharaj said, I have to thank Maharaj for allowing me to come. I see him now in Vrindavan when he comes. And of course, he lifts us all up there. In Vrindavan, we have a morning program, very strong. Temple president there, Panchagoda Prabhu, last 15 years. And he's very intelligent, because every morning he's there, Mangal Artik in the Samadhi, Mangal Artik in Krishna Balaram Mandir in the temple room, there for greeting the deities. And then after greeting the deities, we have our Guru Puja Kirtan. In Vrindavan, it's one of the sweetest Guru Puja Kirtans that you can have, the devotees there. And then at the end of Guru Puja, we circumambulate the temple 3 times with Srila Prabhupada. And that kirtan that's what carries us through the whole day, this kirtan. And then we bring Prabhupada, he's in his Vyasa-san like this big, and then we bring him into Samadhi, then we all circumambulate in the Samadhi 3 times, so the kirtan goes on. This is Krishna Consciousness. I have to say, Maharaj is just telling me Harinam every day. When we were in Perth, there's so many places in Australia, so many places we go. Many, many people coming, many, many devotees. Very wonderful devotees. But mostly they're all Indian devotees. And they come through family relationships, friendly relationships with one another. And even they were saying, how do we get the local people to come? And I always say the same thing. We came by Harinam. That's how we all joined ISKCON back in the 70s. We saw devotees on the streets, in the major cities, in the airports, in the streets. Prabhupada said, one person stay back in the temple, take care of the deities. Everybody else out on Harinam.
Right.
And this is how the society grew, just by the chanting of the holy names. This is the real Gundica marjana. This is the real cleaning up. The cleaning up this whole material world needs a lot of cleaning up, getting covered in so much dust, so much dirt in Kali Yuga. And it's only this chanting of the holy name that keeps anything going in any kind of positive way. So I'm very pleased to hear this process is going on. And he said now they're having your mid-year marathon, book distribution marathon. He said I could talk for hours Prabhupada about Srila Prabhupada's books and Srila Prabhupada chanting.
You're welcome. We will hear.
Whatever time we have, you're going to find me going all over the place. But I came here, New Mayapur. I've been, I think, 3 times over the last 15 years ago. I think was the last time I was there, and I was there 16, 17 years. I think I was there 3 times back then, 15 or more years ago. And that was before I became connected. Imagine 50 years, Krishna Balaram Mandir is there. Prabhupada's home. Took my wife to drag me there 5 years ago. Never wanted to go back to India. Even Prabhupada said he was disgusted with India because they made it difficult for him. They didn't embrace what he was doing. They didn't embrace his followers. They didn't make it easy for them to live in India. To this day, we struggle getting our visas, this visa, that visa, in and out of India. So he didn't like that. He thought they should be much more appreciative, much more receptive of what he was doing. Anyway, over the last 5 years, we've been in Vrindavan, and I finally realized Prabhupada's home. He said it was his home. Krishna Balaram Mandir, he said, was his home. Vrindavan is my home. Mayapur, my place of worship. Juhu, my office. And he had a way of making things important for us, personal for us. These were his personal places. These were the 3 temples he developed in India. And of course, Krishna Balaram, his very home. So now we find ourselves there. And Krishna Balaram, I like to say, a very tricky, crooked. Krishna's crooked, right? You say his hair is crooked, his form is crooked, and how he deals with this, also crooked. He lures you in. He lured us in there in Vrindavan. All we think about every day, I have to listen to her every day. I just want to go home, I want to go home. And I keep saying, we're going to New Mayapur. Krishna Balaram are there. How fortunate. Prabhupada installed. I wanted to come here. I haven't been in Paris, even though I went to New Mayapur 3 times or so some years ago. I never came back to Paris since 1973. 1973, 52 years ago. At that time, Prabhupada was stayed at Bhaktivedanta Manor almost 2 months. And during that 2 months, these deities appeared in Paris. So Prabhupada traveled from London to Paris to install them. And I was fortunate enough to be there. Just see, Krishna, just as we're talking about them. Radha Parisisvara, and I can see Beautiful, so beautiful. And we're fortunate even to have some video of that installation ceremony. You see Prabhupada caressing Radharani's cheek.
Oh yeah.
We all know that story, yeah? Prabhupada looking what's going on. To have deities installed by Srila Prabhupada is Nrsimha Kavacha, our head pujari of all of ISKCON. He's a legacy deities, he says. Deities installed by Srila Prabhupada. All the deities, potency is there. But as we travel around, we see these deities that Srila Prabhupada installed. As I was saying, in Atlanta, Gundica, we know there, Prabhupada went, saw those deities in 1975, saw the same Gundica in Miami, Caracas, all 50 years ago. When he was in Caracas, he said, Lord Chaitanya, Lord Nityananda, they traveled very far to be with you. Prabhupada traveled very far to give us Lord Chaitanya, Lord Nityananda. So can't say I remember everything during that installation, but I can see, looking at them, looking at Srimati Radharani, she's definitely the controller here, definitely in control here, and you're all very, very fortunate to be here. I see all of you here, and I was just thankful. We traveled from Pittsburgh. We were in cars, planes, and airports for about 17 hours, all overnight, last night or the night before, to get here. And it was the one thing I was very eager to do, was to come here after 50 years, again, to see what Srila Prabhupada has done. As I said, in Perth, blossoming community. Prabhupada put his lotus feet there. Everywhere Prabhupada placed his lotus feet, you'll find a temple. We went some places I wasn't with Srila Prabhupada, and I made it my desire to see those places. We did that. We went to Mauritius just before the big lockdown, 2020. Went to Mauritius, South Africa, Durban, Johannesburg, and when we were in Johannesburg, we went to this one little town, Santon, and then we went to this one place. Prabhupada gave one lecture there. One evening he gave a lecture there. He was there for an hour, and there's a temple there. Potency of the pure devotee. So anyone that thinks that Prabhupada didn't give us everything we needed to become Krishna conscious, the highest level of philosophy, they're just all fools and rascals. I saw Prabhupada every afternoon. When I became his servant, of course, I got to see Prabhupada's schedule, his daily schedule. So regulated. When we joined back in the 70s, we would hear about Bhaktivinoda Thakur, and he had written down his schedule for everyone to see what the devotee, how he lived his life, how he did his translation work, wrote his books, did translation, chanted his japa, took his naps here and there, did his business, as a magistrate here, everything regulated, all in that one place. Now imagine Srila Prabhupada traveling around the world constantly for 10 years. He did the same thing, completely regulated. But he did it in his travels. I said, just like we took this trip, sometimes with Prabhupada, trips were 20 hours, 25 hours in airplanes and airports, going to India from the west, 25 hours to arrive in New Delhi, midnight, 1 o'clock in the morning, 2 o'clock in the morning. It's always the same. And he would go to some place. He didn't stay in the nicest places. Whatever Krishna provided, he would stay there. Some life member gave a place, some friend of the devotees would give a place. Prabhupada would stay there. We'd get there 2 o'clock in the morning after being in airplanes, sitting up in plane seats for all day and night. 6 o'clock in the morning, morning walk. Didn't matter that it was 6 p.m. from where you came from. That had nothing to do. 6 in the morning, sun's coming up, morning walk. He was doing it. We struggled to do it. His entourage. Prabhupada's traveling temple. I always say, when we traveled with him, he was the temple president, he was the treasurer, he was the secretary, he was the temple commander. He would see that we were up every morning, even if we didn't sleep for 2 days traveling. Didn't matter. He was able to do it. He only took rest for 2 hours at night, 3 hours at the most. Took a nap in the afternoon after his lunch, 1/2 hour, 45 minutes. And that afternoon time, in Prabhupada's regulation, depending on where he was, if he was in Juhu or Hawaii. In Juhu, we just stayed in a flat. There were 4 buildings before the Juhu temple was built. We stayed on the 2nd floor, called a flat, 2-bedroom flat. One was the sitting room, one was the bedroom. I stayed in the hallway. So he would get up after his nap after lunch, and he would walk to the bathroom. Didn't even look at me. He would just walk towards the bathroom. Dab. That's all I heard. Dab. It was coconut water. He would have his coconut water every afternoon. When he was there in Juhu. Same thing in Hawaii. And then he would go back to his room. And for me, I would marvel in the beginning, he would read his books. To see Prabhupada sitting behind his desk, have his glasses on, reading his books. And I found that very amazing, very surprising. He's writing these books. But he was the greatest devotee of these books. Krishna gave us. He would say Krishna, every word. Krishna is in every word. And he would become amazed reading his books. I'll tell you very briefly a little story. How important it is, this book distribution. Harinam Sankirtan, book distribution. We want to do Prabhupada's bidding, and serve him very nicely. These 2 activities will make you noticed by Srila Prabhupada very much. 2.5 years I traveled with him. I went around the world with him 4 times, 2.5 years. And one time, it was always in the afternoon. That was his bhajan time. Nothing else going on, no one coming in the room. He rang his bell, it was to tell me to do something. Never to get someone. And then he would be chanting japa, walking around the room, wherever it was. Sometimes I'd hear him playing the harmonium at 3 in the afternoon. I'd just hear the harmonium, I'd run into the room, offer obeisances, sit up. As he's playing and chanting Vaishnava songs, he'd look at me and go, give me permission to grab the cartels. And then I play the cartels as he chanted. It's just nearby here, one's at Bhaktivedanta Manor. One afternoon was like that. I was chanting, and I'm playing the cartels. I didn't even know the songs going on at that time. But he's chanting and I just accompany him. And I foolishly at the end of one, I said, Prabhupada, I said, you're chanting? I said, no one else, Prabhupada. He looked at me, he said, I have my own style. His own style. One of those afternoons, after 6 months with him, He rang the bell. It's always the same. Rings the bell, you go in, you offer obeisances. Sometimes I offered obeisances 50 times in a day. Lunchtime, 10, 15 times in a course of half an hour. Every time you bring in a chapati, offer obeisances. Every time you ask for a little more dal, you put more dal, offer obeisances. Dozens of times. He never said you've done it enough today. You don't have to do it anymore. He never said it. You can never offer obeisances to Srila Prabhupada enough times. Every time you come before him, you offer obeisances. Easiest way to make some progress in Krishna consciousness, just acknowledging this person from the spiritual world, giving Krishna to everyone. Lord Chaitanya's ambassador. And it would always be the same. He rang the bell, I went in. He has his glasses on. And I sat up and he's reading Bhagavad Gita, as it is. And I sat up, no one else in the room. He looked at me. He said, this Bhagavad Gita, so nice. He said, if you just read this one book, you can become Krishna conscious. He said, you don't have to read hundreds of books. Just this one book. He said, everything is here in this book. If you read and understand, you can be Krishna conscious. You don't have to read so many books, he said. Then he put his head back down and continued to read. So when he put his head back down, it meant I could leave. He just called me in to tell me. He was in ecstasy reading his Bhagavad Gita. Krishna's Bhagavad Gita as it is. He didn't see it was his book. It was from Krishna. So then I left the room. Many months went by. It's always in the afternoon when he's reading his books, chanting rounds, doing his bhajan. We all need that time, 1-2 hours every day. Read these books, chant. So many months go by, I'm with him a year. Rings the bell. That was my service. You hear the bell ring, run in the room. So when I became his servant, there was no manuals how to be servant to the pure devotee. Now we have manuals for everything, right? GBC college, disciple school, how to become disciple, qualified, how to be a guru, how to be initiating guru, japa retreats. We have retreats for everything now. Our only retreat was to go out into the streets and try to help others become Krishna conscious. That was our business. From the beginning, we went from nothing, from not knowing Krishna to giving him to others. One day, that's all it took. One day, your second day in the temple, you were out in the streets, banging on the cartels, chanting Hare Krishna.
After 1 hour.
Yeah, not one
I've never
day.
seen a devotee in my life before.
Same day.
I just came, I didn't know what was going to happen. I just walked in the door. Within an hour, they put me on Sankirtan.
You went right to the top, giving Krishna to everyone. Whatever you knew, it is all you had to know, as Prabhupada said. Like Saraswati, Shyama and Malati's daughter. Prabhupada proudly said, she would say, do you know Krishna? And of course, in India, they would say, no, entertain her. He would say, he's the Supreme Personality of Godhead. He said, perfect preaching. That's all you have to know. Krishna is the Supreme Personality of Godhead, and we're his servants. Our business is to serve him. Perfection of life. So simple. So many books. In New York, I would go in the garden. I go all over the place. We'll come back to the books. These were my first days. I wasn't his servant, but I would read Krishna book to him. Became my service for the 5 days we were there. Myself and Kaladri, we got Brahmin initiation together by Srila Prabhupada. Hung the threads on us. And I'd read Krishna book to him. The first day he looked at me, said, I like the cowherd boys very much. And then I started reading. And the next day he sat up in his little asana in the garden in New Dwarka. Govinda Mari Purusham Tamaham Bhajami. He said, everyone is serving. He said, our pride. Imagine, pride. We never heard that word. Devotees proud. Prabhupada said, we're proud to be servants of Krishna. He said, everyone is serving. Serving their dog, serving their spouse, serving their boss. So much service. But he said, our pride is we're servants of Krishna. Govinda Hari Purusham Tamaham Bhajami, he said. Then he looked at me. Just 5 of us, not even as many people as here in his garden, and he looked at me. He said, Krishna may be God, maybe he's not God. We don't care. He said, we just love him. I just found out he was God a few months before, and now he's saying we don't care. We don't care if he's God or not. We just love this boy. We love this person, he said. Govinda Mari Purusham Tamaham Bhajami. That was us. We went from nowhere to come to the understanding, God or not God, we just love this blue boy. He looked at us and said, what color is Krishna? Just 5 of us in the garden, Kirti Nanda Swami, myself, Kaladri, a few of the local New Dwarka boys. This is when I first got to spend time with him personally. And I'm thinking, that's a funny question. He's asking us, what color is Krishna? And I learned that day, Prabhupada, very tricky, just like Krishna. Very tricky person. And he had a way of, whatever you do, you're wrong. Even you're right, he could make you wrong. I'm thinking, I'm not going to answer him because I'm something up with this person here. One devotee raised his hand, just like you. He said it's described in Krishna book. He's blackish like the monsoon rain cloud. So smart boy. He quoted 10th canto. Krishna book, 10th canto, Srimad Bhagavatam. He quoted. Blackish like the monsoon rain cloud. Prabhupada went. I saw that look many times. That's shaking his head happily. You're wrong. He said he's blue like the sky. Then he said, that's why the sky is blue, because it's reflecting Krishna's bodily effulgence. He made it that you can't get through the day without seeing Krishna. That's what the pure devotee can do. He can make you see Krishna just like that. In a moment, become Krishna conscious, as he said there in Melbourne, Australia. In a moment, you can be Krishna conscious. He made you see Krishna in everything. So I said, 2 more months go by, 6 more months go by, Prabhupada rings the bell. Always in the afternoon when he's doing his bhajan, reading his books. I go in and I offer obeisances and sit up. He's reading Nectar of Devotion, his Nectar of Devotion. Rupa Goswami's Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu. I offer obeisances and sit up. He's got his glasses on. And he looks at me. This book is so nice. He said, if you just read this one book, you can become Krishna conscious. You don't have to read hundreds of books. He said the same thing he said a year before to me. He said, just this one book. He said, everything is in this book to become Krishna conscious. You just read this one book. He's encouraging me. Read my books. And then he had his glasses on. And he puts his head down and he continues reading. He doesn't say, now you can leave. It's obvious. He told me what he wanted. He's in such ecstasy, he wanted to share it. And I was the closest person he could share it with. I'm next door. I'm always never more than 10 meters away from where he is. Imagine my fortune. I never understand. how I had such fortune to be in the proximity of pure devotee. I never took advantage of it. Just that one book. So he put his head down, and he started reading. I offered obeisances for the second time in 2 minutes, and I left the room. Does anyone have a book, one of Prabhupada's books? Any book? Yes, give me a book. And another year goes by. He's in Juhu. It's the afternoon, 2 o'clock in the afternoon. The bell rings. My bell. You know that, what's it called? The mouse with the bell, right? You hear the bell, you know what's coming. When I became Prabhupada's servant, his secretary, Shama Sundar, was his secretary. I knew nothing. Like I said, there were no manuals, no bhakta manuals, guru manuals, manual for everything now. How to train you up to be a nice devotee. Shama Sundar said to me, Prabhupada rings the bell, you go in the room. Yes. Prabhupada sits in the airplane, you sit next to him. Yes, Prabhu. Prabhupada sits in the car, you sit next to him. Imagine the fortune. Huh? He said, do you know how to use a tape recorder? That's like asking a 10-year-old if they know how to use a smartphone now. Better than you, they know how to use a smartphone, right? I said, yes, record, play. He said, when Prabhupada's on the morning walk, you walk next to him and record everything he says. That was it. 1 minute, this was my service. Very first day in Pittsburgh. Very first temple I lived overnight in, Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania. Now my first day as Prabhupada's servant, I'm in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania. And all I know is when he rings the bell, I go in the room. Don't know what's going to happen. I'm in his bedroom that day, looking at his suitcase, a couple dhotis, chadar, a couple kurtas, his cooker, big little brass bomb in the corner of the suitcase. And the bell rings. I go in the room and offer obeisances. I sit up and Prabhupada's looking at me. He's just looking at me. Yeah. Yes, Prabhupada, what can I do? He said, nothing. Just wanted to see how fast you were. First time he rang the bell. He just wanted to see that I answered that time. And I passed the test. And he broke that anxiety to be with him. Imagine being with Prabhupada. All of a sudden you're his servant, just like that. One day you're milking cows, the next day you're Prabhupada's servant. From New Vrindavan. Went to Vrindavan, Prabhupada's Vrindavan, just like that. And I'm looking at him, I said, anything else, bro? He said, no. Smiling. He broke all my anxiety, just like that. The first time he rang the bell, he knew just what to do. How can you do service if you're in anxiety all the time? You've got to be relaxed doing service. He made me relax immediately. This is the person, I get to serve this person. I said, should I go now? He said, okay. He offered obeisances and left the room. So now 2 years later, he rings the bell in the afternoon. He's got Krishna book on the desk. He's reading his Krishna book. It always amazed me, Prabhupada reading his books. We know he told us to distribute his books every day, right? Distribute my books. You want to please me in the best way, distribute my books. So many instructions about those books. Deities right there on the altar. His books. Not different. It's Krishna. And he's reading his Krishna book. Go in, I offer obeisances. Sit up. Got his glasses on. he looks at me. This Krishna book is so nice. He said, if you just read this one book, you can be Krishna conscious. He said, you don't have to read hundreds of books, just this one book. This is the third time he's doing this with me as his servant. Every day he's reading his books. Don't have to read so many books, he said. He knew for me to read one book was an accomplishment. He was encouraging me, read my books. Distribute them, but read them. But he kept looking at me. He didn't put his head down and continue reading, so it meant I couldn't leave. He's still looking at me. And he's looking at this nonsense, so-called servant. He looks at me. You don't even have to read the whole book. He said, just one chapter. It's a Krishna book, right? Chapter after chapter, 10th canto. How many chapters, 10th canto? 90 chapters. Krishna's pastimes, huh? The smiling face, Krishna. 90 chapters. Prabhupada's reading. How fortunate we are. He gave us Krishna book right away. 1970, Krishna book was there. The 10th canto. You don't even have to read the whole book, he said. Just one chapter in this book. If you read it, you can be Krishna conscious. He kept looking at me. You don't even have to read the whole chapter. He said, just one page. Prabhupada was very demonstrative. He said, just one page. He put his hand down the page. If you read one page in this book, you can be Krishna conscious. So nice. And he kept looking at me. If he's looking at you, you can't leave. He turns away, then you can leave. He's staring at me. I don't know what he saw, this nonsense, Malecha rascal. Sometimes he called me Malecha rascal, nonsense. It's merciful, getting called those names by Prabhupada. This was supreme mercy. He kept looking at me. You don't even have to read the whole page. He said, one line in this book. He went like this, just one line. If you read one line in this book, you can be Krishna conscious. Kept looking at me. You don't even have to read the whole line, he said. Just one word. He went like that. Just one word in this book. If you read, you can be Krishna conscious. Because Krishna is in every word. Then he put his head down and continued his reading. I offered obeisances. Went back to my room. If I had any intelligence, I would have picked up a book and start reading, but I had no intelligence. He's beating me over the head, telling me, read my books, chant Hare Krishna. He's showing me our Acharya, founder Acharya of ISKCON. What does that mean? He's everything in ISKCON. You're all here. You might have heard from this devotee, brought you in the temple, Maharaj and Harinam Sankirtan. We're all here because of that person on the Vyasa-san. If you're here, you have the mercy, you have the permission of Srila Prabhupada to do service here to these wonderful deities. We're that fortunate. Everything to this day, and as Prabhupada said, for the next 10,000 years, Lord Chaitanya's movement. All these things are going on outside, huh? We know, we hear this war, this bombing, that bombing, this crazy politician, this crazy, so many crazy people. Prabhupada said, don't contemplate what's going on in this world. It'll go on its own. It doesn't matter what you do. We have one business, give Krishna to everyone you meet. By these books, by the chanting of the holy name, Lord Chaitanya's movement. You know the story, Prabhupada, with the guns, right? You all know that story? No? I was with Prabhupada one night, Juhu, giving him massage. He had puffed rice. Yesterday, the devotees here in the temple, they gave me a big bag of muri, puffed rice. Puffed rice and peanuts should be in there. Fried, nice chance. Ghee, always in ghee. Muri, Prabhupada said one of his favorite preparations. He had puffed rice for dinner that night. 9 o'clock at night, hot milk, muri, puffed rice. Nighttime I would give Prabhupada massage. Sitting there in the bed with him, massaging his legs. He said, my mother was expert, first-class cook. She made the rice, puffed the rice herself in the wok, he said. He described how she did it. And he said, my sister is also first-class cook. So my mother taught her. He's telling me about his childhood. Then he said, I'm also first-class cook. He said, but I learned just by watching. He said that a few different ways, different things. He expressed how intelligent, he said. He would learn everything just by watching, not by classes, just by seeing. And that's first-class intelligence. Then he said, one night, this is, he's a young boy. I'm figuring he's 5, 6 years old, 7 years old. And I'm trying to imagine my spiritual master from the spiritual world as a little boy, trying to envision it as he's talking, because that's what he's talking about. It's just like when you read Krishna book, trying to imagine Krishna, little boy running around, not listening to his mother, doing whatever he wants. Prabhupada was like that. He says, I told my mother I want puris. She said, no, too late. She said, I'll make you muri, puffed rice. Prabhupada as a young boy had the same determination. He said, I want puris. He's telling me this as I'm rubbing his legs, rubbing his lotus feet. I want puris. My mother said, no, late. I'll make you muri. Prabhupada said, I want puris. And then he said, my father said, if he wants puris, give him puris. And then he said, perhaps my father knew. And then he just went on telling more stories. He didn't say my father knew what his father knew. That you just had to understand. Perhaps my father knew. Prabhupada knew. He didn't go around bragging to us. He was from the spiritual world. No, he made us feel like we could be just like him. I remember those days, Maharaj. He made us think we could become Krishna conscious right now. This very lifetime, go back home, back to Godhead. 50 years later, I think, if I can just serve, it'd be a big, big accomplishment. Most wonderful accomplishment. Going back to Godhead, maybe one of these lifetimes, a million lifetimes away. But he made us all think we could be just like him. I see, there's no question being just like Prabhupada. What he did, what he continues to do, not possible. Not possible. But if we follow principles he's laid down, we chant our rounds, follow the principles, you're connected with him. Potency can be there. I see that right here. Maharaj's dedication to chanting of the holy name. I see those that have complete faith in the chanting of the holy name. That's why I mentioned those guns. Then he said, my father would take me out. Again, he's just a little boy. to the market. And Prabhupada saw one little store, little toys. If you go to India, no different than it was 100 years ago. Guys pushing carts, one guy with little toys all over, another one with little cheap bracelets, another one with household items, same thing. Prabhupada saw a gun. Of course, he wanted a gun. His father bought him the gun. And Prabhupada looked, got his gun in his hand, and he looks at his other hand, there's no gun. He said, I want another gun. Even his father gave him everything he wanted. Said, you have a gun. I want another gun. His father said, no, it's okay, you have a gun. I want another gun for this hand. His father wouldn't get him the gun. He's telling me this as I'm massaging him in bed. And he's making you see, you know, like Bhagavad Gita we see, right? Like a television, Prabhupada said. Like seeing on the television. And that's what a devotee can do. He can make you see Krishna. So Prabhupada's making me see this young boy. His father said, no, you have a gun. He said, I laid down on the ground, started banging my hands. He said, I threw a tantrum. He said, I banged my head on the ground. He said, you see this scar? It's from that time. He had a scar on his forehead. It's in his passport. Visible marks, scar on his forehead. It was from when he was a child, because his father wouldn't buy him a second gun. Cut his forehead, banging his head on the ground. You want to be Krishna conscious, you have to have that kind of determination. Nothing can make you not get what you want. You have to want Krishna that much. His father bought him the second gun. Then he was happy. I said when he came to America, right? 60 years ago, September, lotus feet, he touched down in USA 60 years ago. He had 2 guns. Hare Krishna mantra and his faith in his spiritual master's instructions. He said that's what he brought with him. And he had his 3 cases of books from his spiritual master's instructions. You distribute this knowledge in the West, in the English language. That's what he carried with him. I saw those same 2 guns that Prabhupada had, that determination. So these books, Prabhupada said if they just touch the book, they make eternal benefit. What to speak of if they open it up and read it? So that's how fortunate we are. We take part. Prabhupada went. What did he do? He sat in the park under a tree. We got to see the tum-tum yesterday. Prabhupada's palace, the tum-tum. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. It's all you need. Yeah? And pure desire, purity, the force. It's all Prabhupada did was sit in the park, he chanted Hare Krishna and distributed prasadam. And then we went out into the streets, we chanted Hare Krishna, we distributed prasadam, we distributed Prabhupada's books in the city centers. Imagine every day people would hear that chanting day after day, coming out of their offices 5 o'clock in the afternoon. They would hear the chanting. Very simple devotees. All they wanted to do was serve their spiritual master. They had no other desires. We gave up everything. Talked to Kaladris. He had scholarship, a pre-med student one day. Next day he's at New Vrindavan, milking cows. It was the same for me. I had a scholarship at Sal College in Philadelphia. One day, next day I was in the temple blowing a conch shell. I was in the temple in Pittsburgh 2 days. They made me temple commander. which meant 4 o'clock in the morning to go outside of everybody's room, blow the conch shell to wake them up. Jeev Jago, Gora Chandra Bole. Just like that. Poof, turn you around in a moment. We were so fortunate. So we're still so fortunate all the time. So I've been very eager on this trip. We're 6-7 weeks into our trip to be able to get to see these deities that Srila Prabhupada installed. You're also fortunate every day to chant before them. We're Jagannath, Baladev, Subhadra, Shri Gaura-Nitai. Beautiful, beautiful. Radha Parisisvara. Our good fortune, unlimited good fortune we have to be here. And that's all you have to do. Just do a little service to help Prabhupada in his mission. And he'll secure your place in Lord Chaitanya's movement. You all have a place. We all have a place by the mercy of Srila Prabhupada and by the mercy of his followers. So we have time, we can have a few questions. Oh, I also brought 50th anniversary of these slippers. Prabhupada wore these on Japan Airlines, 1975, 50 years ago. And back in those days, some airlines still do it when you get, even in economy, you get little slippers put on your feet. So slippers were on Prabhupada's lotus feet. So we don't travel with much, but I travel with these slippers. You can all get Prabhupada's mercy from the slippers. Anyone have any questions? Comments? Please forgive me for all my offenses and even being amongst all of you wonderful devotees. I've been so eager to come here and see these wonderful deities Srila Prabhupada installed.
He needs a lot.
He needs a lot extra?
Extra.
Yes, Prabhu.
Thank you very much, Prabhu, for
Hare
the beautiful class.
Hare Krishna.
Thank you.
Yes.
When we, because of circumstances, go sleep late, and should we follow that what Prabhupada did, like after 2 hours just to wake up?
We're off to be very practical. Prabhupada said you can't imitate. The desire's like that. Once in Mayapur, if you've been to Mayapur, Prabhupada's rooms in the Lotus building, had a sitting room and his bedroom, and he would take prasadam, table still there. He would take prasadam in the bedroom, table, the choki was against the wall, like this. He had a little mat, straw mat right there. He would take prasadam alone, with honor, prasadam. And then after lunch, he took a nap. One of the first things he told me, the second day I was with him, he called me into his room. And I went in the door, and his seat, his asana cushion was like right there. I walked in the door, and I offered a basin. It was right beside him, not even in front of the desk. I became so comfortable, so fast. I just offered a basin, and he looked at me. He said, "Your name is too long." I said, "Sruta Kirti, your name is too long." He said, "From now on, I'll call you Sruta." I said, "Yes, Prabhu." He never called me Sruto again. But again, he was making me just comfortable with him so I could do my service. How can you do service if you're not comfortable? And to be with him, personal service, you have to be able to be comfortable so you can think. Otherwise, your mind, your brain doesn't even work in front of him. I said if it wasn't that the Lord had us breathing without thinking about it. We would have all died as soon as we saw Prabhupada, because you can't even think. Your brain just stopped working. You're just looking at him. Pure devotee of Krishna. And then he looked at me. He said, "Do you take a nap after lunch?" Oh, I became an anxiety. I thought he was questioning me being in Maya, taking naps. We never took naps. We're from New Vrindavan. Our mantra, Kirtanananda said, was, we're not reading Bhagavad Gita, we're living Bhagavad Gita. Following the principles. We work. On the farm, that's all you do is work. Only time we took naps was during Bhagavatam class. Many people would take naps back then. I said, "No, Prabhupada." So he was questioning my being in Maya. He said, "I'm an old man." He said, "And when you're old, you can't sleep at too much at any one time." He said, "So I take a nap after lunch." He said it so humbly, and I'm thinking, who is this person? They're flying me around the world, cooking for him, massaging for him. But he was definitely not from this world. Such humility was there. And it just made me see this whole other perspective about him. He's telling me, I was living in the temple for 16 months. I was 21 years old. And he's explaining to me about taking a nap. Prabhupada, he could have slept 24 hours a day, it wouldn't have mattered to me. Everything we have is because of him. Everything. But he's telling me he takes a nap after lunch. I thought, who can understand this person? So in Mayapur, after his lunch, he took a nap, half an hour, 40 minutes. Because he's only sleeping at night 2-3 hours. You can't imitate that. You can't imitate Bhakti Vinod Thakur's schedule. You have to be practical. But he finished lunch, I distributed his Mahaprasadam to everyone. Then I come back in the room, I clean his table, everything. Ants would come onto his plate as he was eating. Every day at lunchtime, the ants knew. Like an army. Ants, they're like an army. They all follow. And they would come up around the plate as Prabhupada's eating. But they wouldn't go on the plate. They just kind of surround the plate. They were respectful of a pure devotee. And as he finishes his sabji rice, they start invading the plate, but they don't touch the sweets. Imagine the sweets. That's what they wanted. They're waiting for the sweets. But they waited for Prabhupada. Eat his sweets. But by the time he's done his sweets and gets up, they're all over the place. I'd have to blow them off. In Calcutta once, he would get sweets from K.C. Das. It was a big, famous sweet maker in those days. Rasgullas, sandesh. His sister would bring in boxes from K.C. Das and put it at Prabhupada's by his seat. Everybody came in would get a sweet. One day I went in, sweets were all over, ants were all over the sweets. So of course I thought, ooh, sweets for Sruta. I went in the room, Prabhupada, I said, there are ants all over the sweets. I'm thinking he's going to say, okay, you should remove them. He looked at me, said, they don't eat very much. And then he told me how to prevent them. Put a tali down, put some water in the tali, put a little katuri, a little cup upside down, you put the sweets on top of them, like a moat. You know what moats are here, right, in France? Yeah, they wouldn't get to them. So in Mayapur, I'm in his room after lunch, and he sits in the bed. He said, I hate sleep. It's just a waste of time. So whenever I'm going to take a nap, I think I'm just wasting my time. He said, I hate sleeping. Then he laid down in the bed and he pulled the sheets over his head. That was Prabhupada. That was Prabhupada. We all have to sleep. We have to sleep. We're not not on that level. On the morning walk in Vrindavan, you have many people come, our devotees, they come, they go around Govardhan, they won't wear their shoes. I know one person got infection in his foot. 3 weeks later, he was dead. Didn't want to wear his shoes walking around Govardhan Hill. Prabhupada always wore his shoes. Vrindavan, Mayapur, Philadelphia, it didn't matter where he was, he wore shoes. In his room, he wore slippers. As soon as he walked out of the door, he put shoes on. On morning walk in Vrindavan, he's walking around. We're all walking with him. A devotee who had been in Vrindavan said, Prabhupada should, sometimes the Brijbasis, they say you should only go barefoot. Vrindavan Dham, the dust of the feet. Krishna, what should we do? Prabhupada said, follow in my footsteps. Prabhupada's footsteps had shoes on them. So we don't do, we be practical. You use your common sense. Krishna consciousness, Prabhupada said, is common sense. He said, and if you don't have any, find someone that does. You can ask them what to do. Common sense, Krishna consciousness. We're all servants of Krishna. Common sense, you serve Krishna. I mean, that's what he said. It's very simple, he said. On a morning walk in Perth, Prabhupada was tricky. He was walking, he stopped, he said, so, devotee, he's simple or crooked? I had been his servant now for 2 years. I knew, don't ever try to answer Prabhupada's questions. Whatever you do, you're wrong. Even you're right, you're wrong. So finally, devotee said, Prabhupada, he's simple, right? Prabhupada. I told you, I saw that same shaking his head. I said, no, he's crooked. He said, just like all of you. He said, I've tricked you into becoming Krishna conscious. What's the trick? What do we tell everyone? Chant Hare Krishna, be happy. No hard and fast rules. Then Maharaj initiates you. He gives you a list this long, rules and regulations. Yeah. No hard and fast rules. They say, yeah, that's what they say. Kirtan, any kirtan we want. That wasn't Prabhupada's. He knew we were doing whatever. He would tell us once, twice, 3 times. Didn't allow this loud speakers, so loud. So all I hear is humming in my ears now, 24 hours a day. This buzzing goes on from these loud, Prabhupada called them Rakshasa kirtans. He said it should be nice, soft, and melodious. He told us once, twice. Then he just stopped telling you. Because if he tells you to do something, you don't do it. That's offensive. That was his mercy. But because he stopped telling you something didn't mean the instruction wasn't there. Always was there. My very first instruction, Prabhupada, first day I'm his servant, 5 o'clock in the morning, New Vrindavan. He picked up his lota from under his desk. He got up, he looked at me, he said, follow me. That was my first instruction. My eternal instruction, follow me. That's our only business. It was very simple, practical, but it was the most profound instruction. Follow me. He walked out the door, about 5 meters. He said, wait here. I waited. He went behind the trees, the bushes. He came back with the loda. Said, now wash it, the soil and water. Put it back under my desk. Gundica marjana. Our business, cleanliness. In every aspect, cleanliness. That's a Brahmin. He's clean. I never had to wash it for 2.5 years, but it was the very first service he gave me was washing his lota. I was on the morning walk every morning. So many ladies, young girls, brahmacharinis. Matajis, they'd be cleaning Prabhupada's room, changing the sheets every day, fresh towels in the bathroom every day, polished his cooker, put fresh vases in while Prabhupada's on the morning walk. But the first service he gave me was cleaning his lota. I see, very instructive who we are, what we are, what our business is. Practical. And it never changes. You see something dirty, you clean it. She told me what to say this morning. Prabhupada went into the kitchen in New Dwarka one afternoon. New Dwarka was the world headquarters. Stainless steel, big stainless steel sinks, big pots, everything stainless steel, no aluminum. Stainless steel. Prabhupada walked into the kitchen. It was the afternoon, so after Rajbhog offering, deities are resting, it's quiet in there. He went in with the temple president and the GBC. And as soon as he walked in, he saw dirty pots in the sink. Prabhupada looked at them. GBC, temple president, big devotees. He said, why are these pots dirty? And right away, Prabhupada, the devotee, comes 3 o'clock in the afternoon. Why are they dirty now? So, well, there's no to clean. You clean them. That's devotee. This is Maharaj, humility. You never big, no such thing as big devotee. Prabhupada said we don't even call ourselves devotees. Servants. Servant means you do whatever you need to do. You become servant. And when you were at Prabhupada, you learned what it meant to be servant. 24 hours a day, every second, every minute, every hour. Krishna conscious, attentive, cleanliness, inside, outside, inside the body, outside the body, we cleanse the body, we chant Hare Krishna, and you see something messy, you don't wait for someone else to do it. That's devotee. You don't wait, you do it. Prabhupada would see a fan on. He said, I have to travel 10,000 miles to tell you to turn off the fan? No one's in the office? It's Krishna Balaram Mandir. No one's in there but the fan's on. No one's in there but the light's on. No one's in there but the faucet's dripping. It's not somebody else's business. Everything personal. We're all serving Srila Prabhupada personally through his representatives, but it's personal. And we should do our services as he's always watching us, what we're doing. Knowing what it means to be devotee, servant of Krishna. Don't waste Krishna's energy. You got annoyed. Practice in India is, it's all the time. They clean the floors, sweep the floors, mop the floors, superficially in India, that's what they do. And after they mop the floors, what do? They turn the fans on to dry the floor. No. So why are you wasting Krishna's energy? You have to see Krishna in everything. Everything. It's Krishna. Everything Krishna's energy. And the more you do that, eventually you'll see Krishna face to face. But don't wait for that day. In the meantime, we just casual devotee. There's no casual being devotee of Krishna. Always attentive every moment. That's what I saw with Prabhupada. Every moment, awareness, attentiveness. But you sleep whatever you need to do your service. That's what we do, whether you do it now and then. But we have to conquer over that sleep. But that also not artificially. I could tell many stories about that too. But I think we have to stop somewhere. And any other questions? I'm going to New Mayapur very soon.
So
Maharaj.
everybody would like to go as well.
Yeah.
Take the whole temple down there.
Yes,
Deities and
you're all
everything.
invited.
These deities spent about, I think, 6 months. They lived in New Mayapur. Did you know that?
No.
When, when mid-late 80s, when there was a big problem here. They had no temple at all in Paris. Nowhere.
So Tirtha, some people will say Prabhupada's rooms in Mayapur are the best in the world. Prabhupada's quarters in Mayapur, New Mayapur. Most beautiful quarters in the world. So you're very fortunate here. Prabhupada turned this place, this whole area, to a Tirtha. Prabhu asked us if we wanted to see anything here in Paris. When I was with Prabhupada, I never saw anything except the inside of my room and the inside of his room, and wherever he went on the morning walk. Prabhu said, "You want to see Eiffel Tower?" She said, no, she just wants to see Krishna Balaram. That's what she wants to see. I said, Prabhupada walked in front of Eiffel Tower. And we're, okay, we'll go see Eiffel Tower. Because that's a tirtha as well. We're only interested in Prabhupada's tirthas as we travel around. If he did it, we want to be that place. And you're all here because back then when Prabhupada was here, you heard him chanting Hare Krishna as he's walking around. Maybe you were a bird or a bee. Maybe he tread on you. You were a little insect on the ground. I connect everything directly to Prabhupada, not indirect. Directly, somehow or other, you all got Srila Prabhupada's mercy previously. And that's why you can be here. So take advantage of it. Don't go anywhere. Don't fall into Maya. Don't fall into Maya thinking there's something better. There's nothing better than Prabhupada. Nothing better than serving Srila Prabhupada. Look at Maharaj here. 50 years faithfully serving Srila Prabhupada. This is Krishna consciousness. And at the time of death, I've seen it again and again. So many God brothers, God sisters, and others, followers. Prabhupada comes and he takes you by the hand. Where he takes you, that's up to him. That's his business, Krishna's business. But he comes and takes you. He's there. He's real. And he can do that. And he will do that. All we have to do is give him loyalty. Chastity. It's all Prabhupada wanted from us. I was there, Krishna Balaram Mandir with him, many months. He didn't want us to go anywhere. He said, I put all the holy places, all the tirthas in the courtyard of Krishna Balaram Mandir. He said, you come here, you see his deities. You come and hear from his devotees, from his books. That chastity. Guarantee you a place as his follower, eternally. But if you turn away, I don't know your future, your whereabouts. I heard him say things about people that turned away. Their whereabouts wasn't good. Wasn't good. One of the devotees called him a snake, left Prabhupada. He asked Prabhupada, please show me who I can go take as guru to give me higher level. Prabhupada said, you ask for his blessings. Prabhupada said afterwards, he said, imagine he comes to me asking me, you're not qualified to be my guru, but please tell me who is qualified to be my guru. He said, such a snake. He said, it'll be kalpas before he's ever able to be Krishna conscious. Turn away from who's given you Krishna, and you turn your back on him. No greater offense. You might fall down, illicit sex, meat eating, intoxication. No greater offense than turning your back on the person who's given you Krishna and to think somebody else can do better. That's why whatever I may be, rascal I am, I'm going to be a rascal at Prabhupada's feet. I may be a rascal, but I'm going to be his rascal, not somebody else's rascal. I just want to be his nonsense, militia, rascal, dog. That's all I want to be. Because I know this master, he's the best master. All three worlds, best master you can get. That's how fortunate we are. So don't lose that. Don't let somebody take you away. And as soon as you start hearing this kind of nonsense, you're already polluted. That's why Prabhupada said, don't hear. His secretary, Prabhupada called me one day, wanted his secretary. He was in Vrindavan taking darshan, Goswami's deities. So later in the afternoon, Prabhupada called me. He said, call him. He said, where were you? He said, oh, Prabhupada, I was taking darshan, Madan Mohan, Radha Damodar. That's when Prabhupada said, your business is here, Krishna Balaram Mandir. And then he said, I put all the holy places, all the tirthas there, right in the courtyard of Krishna Balaram Mandir. You don't hear from anyone else. As soon as you go outside, you're going to hear in Vrindavan. Vrindavan, most wonderful place, which means it's the most dangerous place. So many little, what do you call it? Places to be distracted, to fall down. This bearded Baba, that bearded Baba, oh, they'll give you Radharani and the gopis. So much nonsense. And immediately you're affected. You think, oh, maybe there's something better Prabhupada didn't give me. No. He'll give you everything, but you have to earn it. Not cheap. Not cheap thing. You have to earn it by submissively serving. I'm a snake. You want to hear? Everything will come to you. How does it come? Service. Prabhupada told me, service is love. I told Prabhupada one day, I have no love. I was such a rascal. I even said it to Prabhupada because I felt it. Prabhupada said, do you like your service? I said, oh yes, Prabhupada. He said, service is love. He said, do your service. Everything will be all right. So that's all we can offer is our service. None of us, we're not expert. We're not Prabhupada. But we can serve him faithfully. Follow his instructions. Everything will come to you in this lifetime. This very lifetime, you can go back home, back to Godhead. He guarantees it. Follow the principles, chant your rounds, and serve his mission. At the end of this life, he doesn't say next week you're going to see Krishna's form. He says at the end of this life, you go back home, back to Godhead. So you have to have patience, determination, and that enthusiasm. I see Maharaj comes to Vrindavan. He's so happy he comes to Vrindavan. He gets all of us chanting and dancing. I don't know how he does it. My knees, I can jump up. I'll be lying in bed for a week. But it makes you chant and dance. That's Krishna consciousness. So we're all very fortunate. And you're very fortunate to have the guidance here, Maharaj. And I see wonderful devotees here. I'm very happy to be here. And I take Maharaj's blessings. He gives them to me. And today we go to New Mayapur. We're there for like 5 days or something. 5 days, 5 nights. Then we're off to England. Everywhere Prabhupada went. That's all. Follow me. Prabhupada told me, follow me. That's why I'm trying to follow him. Not easy. Prabhupada said determination difficult. Material world impossible. They're your choices. You can try to enjoy here in the material world. It's impossible. Through the chakshusha, through the eyes of the pure devotee. He can open your eyes to see. Every time I try to enjoy, you get smacked. And each time you'll get smacked harder and harder. That's mercy. It's not punishment. It's instruction. Don't waste your time. I've wasted so much time. Now we're in Vrindavan. 5 years, Krishna Mandir. How many temples have we gone to? We haven't been to any other temple in Vrindavan in 5 years. Because that's what Prabhupada told me 50 years ago. You stay here in your room. If I ring the bell, you have to be there. Once Tamal Krishna said, Sruta Kirti, he's so fortunate. Prabhupada will be in the spiritual world ringing the bell saying, where's Sruta Kirti? Because sometimes I wasn't there. Where's Sruta Kirti, he would say. I've been ringing this bell for hours. So that's my good fortune if he remembers me in that way. And we all have that good fortune. It's not limited to one person. Every one of his followers, personal. We all have that same mission, just to serve Prabhupada. All right.
New mayapur is the only manifested to us place in Europe.
All Europe.
Where Srila Prabhupada stayed.
Yeah. Yes.
In terms of property within ISKCON now.
Yes.
There are other properties, of course, but they're not under ISKCON.
Yeah.
This is the only remaining one, not including the manor, London.
That's England. They're not in the EU.
They're not in Europe.
I read about Brexit and all that. Megxit, Brexit, all those things.
Breakfast.
Yes. No. Just around the corner, you have very wonderful. What to speak of? I feel so fortunate to come here today. And all I wanted to do was, and we made that stop here just to see Radha Parisisvara here today. And they certainly don't disappoint. And everyone, all the pujaris, how fortunate you are. You know, as I travel in the West, I always do, living in Vrindavan for 5 years, you know, you see a pujari on the altar. There's only one kind of pujari on the altar in Vrindavan, men. And as I travel around, I see the Matajis on the altar. So fortunate, get to serve the deities by Prabhupada's mercy. So everyone can become fortunate. You just have to desire. That's all. Right. Srila Prabhupada.
Jai.
Hare Krishna. Thank you.
Sruta Kirti Prabhu ki jai.
Hare.
Here.